Hi everyone. So thanks for joining. I'm Beshan Kulapala. I'm the director for Vega Innovations. I'm also a research scientist with CodeGen International. Vega is a subsidiary of CodeGen, and we've been developing automobile technology for about 5.5 years now. Since 2000 and early 2015, we 2014, we started developing a supercar car called Vega, a completely electric supercar, completely designed, engineered, and manufactured in Sri Lanka. Right now, we have a team of about 45, 48 engineers. Uh, Focused on electrical engineering, electronics, mechanical engineering, materials. Also, we have a design team as well who does the actual look and feel, the product development design work as well. So it's a very diverse kind of a team that we have, and I think that is one of the critical needs to have a successful team, especially to design an electric car, a supercar. Now, a lot of people ask why we started building an electric supercar rather than a three-wheeler or some small electric vehicle. We wanted to, when we started, we really didn't know that we wanted to build a car. We wanted to do something that was really new to our country, to put our country on the map for building something that we had never done before, using various sorts of technologies. So when we looked at what we could do, we looked at computers, cell phones, things like that. But a car is something that we all connect to. We all use transportation, either your car or your bus or train or whatever it is. So it's something that we can relate to. And around 2014, electric cars were just getting popular. Tesla was just getting into the scene, so it was the right call made by our CEO Harsha Subasinghe to kind of develop a cutting edge technology here. Now, why a supercar is that we wanted to build the expertise in building the hardest vehicle first, so that we can come down the value chain and build the smaller car, the mass market vehicle, the three-wheelers or bicycles or whatever it is. And we are at a position that we could do that now because we build a very diverse team, build the expertise within them, and I think that's why we feel we are very confident in looking back and deciding to take on a supercar. So that's my little intro here. I want to emphasize again that when we started with people who just graduated or graduated a few months from Sri Lankan universities, both public and private. So we didn't have large automotive expertise. This is all homegrown stuff. So I think that's what we are very proud of, because we started really from scratch. If you look at the kind of the tools that we have and we compare ourselves to other big car manufacturers, the tools that they have, it's like the moon and the sun. There's a huge gap in between what we did with what we have, the resources that this country has, for example. So I think we done, my team has done a tremendous amount of work to get to where we are. So those are kind of the positives. If I may take some of the questions that are already there. What is the plan for Vega? Are you going to sell the car as a limited edition model or license the tech? So this is a very good question. We are looking at multiple business models, especially if you look at Rimac in Croatia, for example. They've been they build one of the fastest supercars, a beautiful car with a lot of technology. And now they're being, they are focused on building vehicles, but they are mostly focused on giving technologies to some of the bigger car companies like Porsche and Jaguar Land Rover. These information are publicly available. So we are looking at those business models also, but we want to manufacture this car in Sri Lanka. We are not going to sell this car to some foreign entity and walk away, because we want to do this in Sri Lanka. Um, it's very difficult, but we took on this challenge and built a prototype. And if we let it go now and not get into the next step, then we feel that we are not pushing the boundaries to move this country forward. So imagine a automotive industry in Sri Lanka, just like when we got into the apparel industry in the 80s. That was a new thing for this country, but we were very successful. So we want to build the ecosystem now. There are established companies who are providing fiber-based products or coir-based products like seats and whatnot to big car companies like Mercedes and Porsche and whatnot. So if we all get together and push this industry forward, I think then we have a very good chance of making a big dent in what our country can do. There's another question. How much of an investment have you put into Vega Innovation so far? I must tell you before I just run some numbers. When we started this project, we ran some numbers without much experience at all. It really showed, the kind of the level that we were 5 years ago. We just added all the big car components together and thought that was the budget that we needed. We have we have exceeded that by about 10-15 times now. I could easily say that we have spent more than $1 million on this project now, trying to build this technology, to build not just a prototype but to build the technology. I think that's a very different. I want to explain that to the viewers more. Because when other car companies, most of them, even Tesla, when they produce some of their cars, they bought the components from other vendors. Now these are also publicly available. You can, if you do some research, you know where the motor came from, where the motor controller came from, where did the battery management system came from, who did this and whatnot. But we took a very different route. We started building all of it here. The motor controller, the battery management system, the vehicle controlling unit, including the electronics and the software. So our scope of building this prototype is much larger than what a conventional company would do. It really added to our challenges, but looking back, it really made a huge value addition in terms of what our team can provide to another entity or to the society as a whole. And we have used that expertise to build and gone off and done a lot of other products in this country. For example, we built a company called chargeNET. We are one of the largest electric vehicle service providers in the country. We built all of the chargers in Sri Lanka by us. And now we have another company called AI Grow, artificial intelligence in agriculture. And we develop a lot of cutting edge technologies also in-house, 100% by us here in Sri Lanka. So the investment is not just for the prototype. So don't think like you spend 1 million on a prototype, what is your plan? But it is to build all these expertise within this country. So moving on, in any multinational foreign company agreed to sponsor for this mass production, what will be your decision? Yeah, so we've been talking to a few companies abroad, trying to see what aspirations they have and how we can collaborate together. So out of that, we have a partnership with a Japanese company now to develop a small electric car in parallel to the supercar that we're doing. So we are hoping to start the manufacturing process for that particular vehicle by end of next year. So that will be a huge step for us in terms of learning from how to manufacture with high quality and low cost and with high efficiency and so on. So these are some of the things that we are looking at now in terms of engaging with foreign partners to move this forward, because we have no intentions to stop after this prototype. We are full steam ahead. We want to build more of these cars in Sri Lanka and start selling them across the world. So that is our goal. Please describe about software part. So yeah, we have over about 60 microcontrollers on this car now. They range from placed in motor controllers to vehicle controlling unit to light controller, door controllers. We have these parts called body controllers. So all those electronics have many microcontrollers. And the center console that goes in the middle of the car with the touch screen, and also the digital instrument panel that sits in front of the driver. Those are all done by us as well. So there are two high performance controllers on those that run a full stack for software. So it's a massive task to do the software on this car, especially the firmware side, because it has to be high performance. If we to get certification one day, then these have to be there has to be redundancy there, critical failures. There can't be single point failures on the system. So lots of things to worry about. But like many, we all started with the Arduino or some small microcontroller, and here we are developing high-end stuff on different microcontrollers. So I think it's important that to note that trying to learn new softwares as you go is important, because technologies change, and we are also now looking at what is the next step in terms of microcontrollers and software and other things that we need to place on production level vehicles. I hope I described the software part. We are also doing a little bit on artificial intelligence, AI-based autonomous navigation stuff, to see how we can integrate NVIDIA-based autonomous navigation into our platform. We are quite a long ways off, but that's something that we are also doing some research in parallel to bring AI into the picture, and it's been done all around the world, but especially in countries like ours, doing software for AI and autonomous navigation is quite a big task, more complex, I feel, because of the road rules and all the other problems that we face in this area. Yeah. What are the plans to compete with the other large companies? Yeah, so that is one of the biggest challenges for us. How do you compete in quality, features, brand name, and then pricing, costs and things like that? To be honest, when we started, for any product, we were with the impression that we can build things cheaper in Sri Lanka, and I think one of the biggest learnings for me personally is that is not the case for most things. You can't build things cheaper here. Our tax policies, our volumes, our manufacturing capabilities in this part of in this country is not geared to do that. So you have to look at what value additions that you can provide that will bring you to the international market. And if you thought that building things for cheaper is the way to go, it's just not. If our labor profiles are even not there. For example, if you look at the apparel industry, now companies are moving to Bangladesh because labor is cheaper there, and it's more expensive to do things here in Sri Lanka. So bringing automation and robotics and all of these things are very important. So what I'm trying to say is that you need that kind of ecosystem to kind of compete with the larger companies. Now you can look at several companies in Italy and Germany and Sweden, for example, where they cater to this niche market, small volume but a um, uh, very high custom engineered vehicles for the niche client, and that's one of the areas that we are looking at, especially for the Middle Eastern market, where some people who already have the Lamborghinis and Ferraris are now looking for something very different that nobody else drives. So that kind of area is good for this particular model. Other areas to compete with the larger companies is on the prototyping and designing side of things. Now, larger companies spend about $5 billion or so to build a new prototype, a new model, whereas we could do it for much cheaper. So that is one particular place where we can do things cheaper in this country, is the designing and the manufacturing of a prototype, not the manufacturing of high volume mass production areas. So that is something that we are now looking at to kind of compete with the larger companies. Uh, there is a comment saying, "Love that you took a risk with trusting and upskilling local talent." Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we are very proud of. Some of the earliest employees that joined me with this Madhuranga, who he heads the mechanical side of things, Shiranga, who heads the electronics and firmware, and Supun, who heads the battery and energy storage and our chargeNET division. These guys are the ones who actually took the risk of coming out of the university, or letting go of whatever the job they had, and joining me and Harsha and CodeGen for simply an idea. At that point we didn't have anything, we didn't have even the workplace or the tools. We just got them down and told them that hey, we are building Sri Lanka's first electric supercar, and we want you to be part of it. And believe it or not, some people just gave up whatever they had and then joined this team to make this a reality. And I think local talent is the way to go. If we were to get international talent or people with expertise to come, I think this project wouldn't have worked. And I think if these particular individuals didn't even join this team, I don't think we would be where we are. So kudos to them. Do you have any idea what the retail price is going to be for your car? Yes. So this is also a very common question. We try to avoid the exact number for for many reasons. Um, we listen. So if you're trying to compete with some of the Tesla or some car like this, then there's no business model, because you can't build it for that amount. But if you compete with Lamborghinis and Ferraris, for example, then there is a model to play. If you look at a new Lamborghini or Ferrari, or the Rimac One, for example, you are in about $1 million to $1.5 million range. So that is the upper limit of where we can compete. Now anything cheaper is the way to go. Just like some people will pay a large amount of money for let's say a designer watch. There will be people who will be willing to spend more money on a very niche car that is not in the market on a larger scale. So that's the kind of the upper limit. We believe we can build a niche car like this for about 10 million or 15 million or so. That's the kind of the retail price that we're looking at in terms of where to position ourselves. Is your technology patent or publicly available? So we do have technology that we can patent, was built in house, but we haven't taken the route to do any patents yet, because we are waiting until we get all of the ducks in a row to get into production, or else the 5-year limit will fall, and then our technology will be out there for anybody to use. Having said that, we've been one of the, being a small team, we've been one of the largest companies in Sri Lanka to bring in a lot of the electronics and electrical engineers for internships in terms of new product development. I know a lot of other companies also do, but we also spend a lot of time with interns. So there we give them the full A to Z on the technology. We don't limit them on what they can do, or what they see, what code they can look, and things like that. So when they go out to the industry, they are well prepared to take on some of the larger tasks, even to build some competing product against us. So we are also very proud of this, because one of the things that we feel is that the interns bring a lot of value for us, that with the new ideas and new skills and all the aspirations that they have. Would it ever be possible to build a converting unit for our gas vehicles? Absolutely. So this is a very good question also. If you go to our Facebook site, we have a Mini Cooper that we converted to full electric. There's videos and images and whatnot. We were at one of the BMICH exhibitions lately also. So we have started that as another business model for us to convert the existing vehicles into electric. Now, right now, given the cost of batteries, you're looking at about 1.5 million rupees to convert a small car into electric. But that will change rapidly as the battery prices are coming down worldwide. So in about 1 or 2 years, the technology that we have, we will be able to convert it for much cheaper. But still, there are people with classic cars, for example, that they can't find the engines, or they want to convert it to electric and so on, that we are catering to. So this is one of the biggest efforts that we've been putting, and we've been working very closely with the Department of Motor Traffic in Sri Lanka to get the green light to register these vehicles in Sri Lanka. And I know the DMT gets a lot of negative press, but they've been working very closely with us, particularly some of the assistant commissioners that we are working with, to try to push and get the legal certification to register these vehicles in Sri Lanka. So I'm proud to say that we are very close to getting to this point, and we've been having a lot of discussions, having a lot of technical meetings, drawings, and reviews and whatnot. It's a very daunting task, but it's something that we are working with them to kind of get to the next level. So that's our conversion point of view. What's the range of this car in kilometers? We can do 240 kilometers per charge. The Mini Cooper that I talked about can do 150 kilometers per charge. Regarding bringing down electronic components from US, China, what was your approach? How did you manage the lead time? At first, we didn't have a dedicated person to manage uh, um, our supply chain in getting quotations, getting money transferred, and then getting the shipment done, custom clearance, and finally getting the product to our hands. I think after we got a dedicated person now working on this front, or some other part of our team, we made quite a lot of um, uh, we made a good progress on trying to get these things down much faster. For example, things like relays or IGBTs or cooling plates or whatever. Anybody who has imported stuff trying to do a product engineering in Sri Lanka would know that this is one of the biggest problems. It would take only 2 days for DHL or FedEx to bring the item to Katunayaka. It would take another 9 days to clear it from Katunayaka and bring it to your office in Maradana. So it's a problem. We've been talking about this to the BOI, to export board, to ministers, whoever comes to our office who has the kind of the privileges to change the rules. We've been speaking to them, trying to make this process much more efficient. And so lead times, we are now around 7 to 9 days. If it's a larger shipment, we think it would take about 10 to 12 days. If it's from the US, it's a little bit faster. For example, electronics from DigiKey, a company would be here in about 2 days, and it would take another 2 days to clear. So having the right people, having the right knowledge on how to handle it is the critical part. And next question. With your expertise in battery technology, are you not looking at battery manufacturer fabrication, especially for the leads, who don't seem to have any proper aftermarket options? Yes. So having been in the industry in the electric vehicle charging side, we've been working very closely with all of the leaf, I would say all, but majority of the leaf owners who uses our service to charge their cars. So having all of the leaves in complete operational form, electric vehicle car owners happy with their vehicle is key for our business. So for us, if we want to succeed with EV charging, we have to have more EVs. And if people are not satisfied, or if the EVs are becoming less and less drivable, then that's a problem for us. So we take this battery problem very seriously. What we have done so far is to we have not gone on the route, the traditional route, where we try to take old battery cells from a broken leaf or a old leaf or whatever it is, and then try to do battery swaps or battery changes for other EV owners, because we can't provide the kind of the quality levels, the guarantees and warranties that they would want. So we've been taking the route of trying to look at what are the battery cells that are out there that you can purchase from elsewhere, because Nissan is not selling the batteries yet. To purchase and bring it here, and then try to build new battery packs, or to be able to replace some of the cells. So last week, we finally, after like weeks and weeks of working on this, got a vendor to get the money transferred and then have the clearances and shipping all lined up to get some of these battery cells into our hands. So what we hope is that when this shipment comes, we will convert a full battery pack with the new battery cells, and then do extensive testing to see what's the quality, how does it handle, what are the kind of the negatives, and to give a good solid answer for these leaf owners, so that they can of course it will cost a little bit more, but they can get the kind of the warranties that they want to get when you spend on something, and so that you can then get the value of the vehicles back on track with a regular gas vehicle. So we are working on this. It's been taking a lot of time, and we do apologize, but hopefully by within another 2-3 months, we would have something that we can go out to the market and be very confident into selling to our leaf owners. What are the basics problems you face? Oh gosh, so we face a lot of problems. Sometimes the most basics are from rats and other bugs in our workplace that wants to chew on anything that they feel like they want to. But mostly it's the lack of materials in this country. If you want to let's say get a particular aluminum alloy to do a CNC, you can't really find exactly what you want. There might be material that's out there that you can purchase, but nobody knows what it actually is. There's no technical data associated with it. And then the problem with tooling. We don't have the proper tooling in this country to kind of do some of the very high-end work that is required for some of the product engineering stuff. Now on this end, we've been working very closely with, we've been working very hard with some of the government institutions to invest on a tooling unit where people, anybody, me, you, or any intern or some university student can go to a office, can get their CNC work done for a cheaper amount, and that you don't have to then send it to China or something. So hopefully this will also go online soon. At least have one machine that can work, that you can then take on jobs and show the government that this is a sustainable model, so that you can continue to invest in and buy the other tools that you want. So that's one of the basic problems that we face. We have a culture in Sri Lanka that is dismissive of radical innovations. What's your advice when praising critics? Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's the hardest people to convince is the, the family members who have no idea, sometimes as to what's happening. They all want, everybody's focused on the output and not the effort that goes into it. So 5 years, they say it's a long time to build a supercar, and it is. It's a long commitment for the people, the team that's working on it. But it's the amount of time we spent, and I don't think we could have made it any shorter. But yeah, so the cultural issues are very difficult, because especially when people are getting close to getting married, for example, they all want you to be working at some bigger company on very traditional job, whereas working on electric car in Sri Lanka seems to be like a dead-end job that people think of. So I think changing mindsets are not easy, but we've been slowly trying to do this, especially for our youngsters. We are very open with our projects, so we get as many students to come to visit our site. Sometimes busloads of students from far off places, from all over the country, comes to see what we're doing, and I think that's a very positive sign. So one of the key messages that we give is that you have to be doing something new if you want to move this country forward. And if you're thinking about doing the same old thing, buying something from China and bringing it here and trying to resell it, it's just not moving the country forward. So I think all of us, all the viewers here today, also have a um, responsibility to kind of talk to others about not just Vega, but all the other innovations that happen. For example, at Slintech and other university projects, I just saw a aim in the on here also, that people are doing, to kind of talk about that, um, and encourage people to take those startups to the market, and take the 3-4 years of risk in trying to get those into the market. If your first instinct is to find a job at the bigger companies and settle down, then you're losing a lot of potential as to where you can go. So that's the kind of my advice in trying to fight the cultural issues of this country. I kind of appreciate that question. Um, Next question. I think it's better to take risks, set up more charging stations so consumers feel cool to purchase a Leaf or an electric car. Let's say 10 units per station. Yeah, that's true. If you look at other countries, there are so many charging stations, and people are not worried about having to go long distances. Whereas the investment is the problem in trying to get more chargers in. But we've been working very hard on this. We have over 150 chargers now around the country, level 2 and fast chargers. We have charges on a lot of hotels, a lot of apartments, a lot of car dealerships, and so on. So hopefully, we are making some dent into where we are going. What type of skills and experience do you look for in candidates to be successful at Vega? Yeah, so this is a very good question. Actually, when I speak at some of the events at the universities, also I kind of touch on this a lot. We hardly look at the GPA because it doesn't tell you what kind of people they are. We want people who have done things hands-on, even if it's a small thing, who have done things not because it was part of their school project or college or university project, but because they were passionately interested in it. Did you just buy a small Arduino for 500 rupees and do something at home? What did you build? What were the problems that you faced? How did you manage to solve those small problems? Now, anybody who used an Arduino would immediately know what the kind of the problems that they have. Especially if you can't debug things in flight, then that's a problem. So we want to know what are the solutions that you thought of in terms of the resources that you have. How did you manage to get around it? And those are the important things that we look for. And working hard is a must. Working endlessly on the same thing until you get it right is also a must. If you look at even some of the project, smaller things that we have done, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versions don't work all the time. We now strive to do things that work 24/7 all day long. Nothing. If it fails once in a while, then we are not satisfied with that. So that's the kind of the mentality that we're looking. People who are well conscious about it, who wants to spend time about it, who wants to learn about it, and who are very humble. So one thing about our team is that we've been saying this from day one, is that we are very much a flat team. Although there are hierarchies to manage the kind of the operations, all team members, including myself, are on the same platform as to what value we give to the team. So I may have had work in some far off country for a while. Uh, the intern may have come to work at Vega, yesterday. But our gauge is that both are the same. Everybody has the same level of input, same level of right to critique. Ask questions like, why do you like do things this way? Provide new ideas. So this is our number one thing about being successful in terms of building a team and then to get new candidates in. If you look at some of the other companies, not just Sri Lanka, but elsewhere, there is a tend to be having hierarchies. If you are the manager, nobody can question the manager, and then manager is like, all the way up there, and then you can't be really questioning him and asking why the heck you are doing things this way. So we try to avoid that. It's a difficult thing to do, especially in this culture. Now the cultural thing comes back to this also. Uh, you know, us calling each other Ayya and Malli, these are artificial things that create these boundaries. When you call somebody Ayya, unknowingly even you think that they are at a higher level than you are. It doesn't have to be that way. People calling me by my first name is a massive problem at work, and it doesn't happen except for 3 or 4 people, mostly who have had some international exposure, are the ones who are comfortable in calling me Beshan. Others have to call me something like boss or something, and I'm not totally happy with that. So what can I do? Yeah, so those are some of the things that we are trying to look for in terms of getting new candidates. People who needs constant input from us to in terms of doing something on their own, we feel are not the right candidates for Vega. They have to be self enabled, self learning, and be able to kind of be able to go on with doing things by themselves and being able to solve some of the problems that we face. Um, yeah, so that's some of the stuff that we're doing in terms of other because we are out of that was my last question, I think, unless it's not loading. But in terms of other technologies that we do, if you take an example, the AI grow that we've been doing, it is to bring data-driven, artificial intelligence-based agriculture into the local market. So that's not, there isn't much AI-based technology in agriculture yet worldwide. There are a few companies in the Netherlands and Israel and so on. So that's a good place for us to kind of build new algorithms and new technologies, new software to move things forward. As you know, farmers in Sri Lanka are the ones that struggle the most in terms of getting any revenue back from all of their hard work in producing the food for this country. It's the middleman, the delivery people, the supermarkets that makes most amount of money. So if we can bring technology in and change that concept, then the farmers will be the ones who will be able to make the most amount of money. Hopefully, they can sell directly to consumers and kind of give good food, safe, healthy food to to all of us to kind of to grow. Um, so those are the kind of the agriculture side of things. So if you look at aigrow.lk, you can get some idea about what we're doing, and we are very open for collaboration and getting together to build new technologies in terms of doing automated agriculture for greenhouses and hydroponics based greenhouses. So now there is a trend where people who have never been in the agriculture sector wanted to get into food manufacturing, food production. So that's a good sign. That really shows that food production is now a key problem for the world. And not just farmers, but people who are in the tech industry are now getting into building factories to do lettuce or tomatoes or whatever they feel like growing. So there is a company that is converting a garment factory into now to a agriculture based greenhouse. So those are good signs for our country to kind of move forward. Next question. You have worked in Silicon Valley as well. As you think, where can we improve? Yeah, so I was with Intel for about 9 years in Arizona and then in Oregon. So I have some exposure into some of the Fortune 500 companies in building high technology. Um, when you work for a large company like that, I must say that your value addition or your impact to society is very, very small. You don't even feel it. You get a good paycheck, but it's not moving the society forward, I feel. So working for a smaller startup in Sri Lanka, for example, makes a much larger impact to society and really be able to add some value with your knowledge and expertise. Where can we improve? I think we can improve in how to market these products to international markets. How do we do product engineering to product engineering driven by the market and not driven by engineers? And I think that is a key thing that we are now also very much focused on trying to understand how to do that properly. Doing market studies first, doing market analysis, doing SWOT analysis, things like that, that are basics for production engineering. If you just look, there's a 9-step process in product engineering that you could do. So things like that, process-driven side, things like that are very important to kind of get to the world market. Now, if you look at some of the projects that are done from the universities, there are hundreds of these projects. If you go to an exhibition, there are hundreds and hundreds of new things that people have done. But if you look at how many of those get to the market, even the local market, it's a small amount. You could just probably count with your fingers. So what is the problem there? We have the expertise, we have people who understand electronics and mechanical and whatnot, but why can't we sell it, is the problem. So understanding what that gap is I think is the thing that we can really improve on, to make things better. AI in Vega, is it harmful? I don't think so. If the question is in terms of, is artificial intelligence going to be a harmful factor for Vega, I think AI is going to be a problem for many industries, because advanced robotics, new softwares will take over some of the jobs that we are doing. And I think it will happen whether we like it or not. So being in the AI side of things, I think will be a good value addition. And CodeGen has a large AI team also. We have about 50 employees working on AI and AI related products for the software side of things. So it's an area that we really that we put a lot of focus in trying to move things forward. How do you feel about data collection on individuals by companies working on AI, and database services in terms of user privacy and how it may affect the growth of AI? Yes, I totally agree on this front. Data is key now. Most free services are providing that free service because they are using your data for all sorts of things. There was a big ha-ho about this Face app with Facebook, that they are also taking all your information. I don't know how true that is, but Facebook, we all know, takes a lot of our data for all sorts of advertising things. If you look at some of the software services that we used, for example, Uber or PickMe or Uber Eats, things like this, they all have our data also. They know where we traveled from, where to, what we ate, how many people we ordered food for, our addresses, our faces, and things like that. So if you put all of that data together, you can create some massive matrix of things that can really harm you. So to be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time on this data side of things, but I feel that without the proper privacies, it would be a problem. Now the EU is putting a lot of roadblocks into as how much data is able to be gathered from these apps, and I think that will continue to happen across the other countries in terms of limiting their rights to our data. And I think that would be critical also to make it a success. Would you consider having a school for young people to give hands-on experience? I am assuming the question is, would you be able to help a school for young people to give hands-on experience? I think totally. I would like to volunteer myself to do things like this if time permits, and I know some of the team members would also be willing to help. I do volunteer with some other school activities, but not on the tech side. And I think it will be very important to give hands-on experience, and having things like uh, technical exhibitions or technical uh, uh, games and things like that, where students can bring in small robots and compete with each other on that level. But then the question is, how do you kind of fund this? Because if schools and school children across the country are struggling, maybe not the schools in Colombo, but the rural areas. So you have to find a way to fund it, and I don't. And if there are no funds to build a thing like that, then all this will mostly focus on Colombo and some of the bigger suburbs. So being able to help the rural communities and their schools are also very important, because if you look at my team, they come from all sorts of parts of the country, and only a few come from Colombo. So in terms of finding the right talent, the talent is all around the country, and not in Colombo. So we have to, uh, if there are any hands-on experience, we should do it in the outskirts, in the far off places, because that's where the hidden gems are, and not just necessarily be in Colombo. So that's what I want to get at. So yeah, I'm all in for that. If you have any ideas, do message me, and we can talk more. How would you advise the aspirants who want to build tech companies like Vega? Um, I think we've been helping quite a number of startups and individuals trying to bring their ideas to life, not by taking a share of their stuff or asking for money or something, but giving free advice, being able to talk to them, giving them pointers as to how to move along, and things like that. Building tech, again, you have to look at the market side and then come to the picture. If you just build something because you think it's the right thing to build, it would not be the way to move forward. I don't think that's the way to be successful. You have to look at what people need, at what cost, what's the kind of the qualities, what's out there. Can you beat the technologies that are out there? Can you build it cheaper, and provide better service and quality? Things like that is fundamental in bringing getting a startup to succeed. And I think if you look at some of those things, it might be the way forward. But again, if somebody wants to talk to us about your ideas, not just ideas, but where to get certain things done, things like that, then we are very open to helping them, and trying to push all the industries to move forward. I don't think we as Vega, we don't want Vega to be the only tech company that tech startup that really pushes innovation, but we want another hundreds of other startups to kind of join us and then move forward as a group. So that's important for us too. So there is somewhat of a negative attitude about coding in Sri Lanka, especially in schools. How do you suppose we change this? I feel the same also. When I was in school, we spent a lot of time, even if it was a 8 megahertz CPU, trying to write some code, do some video, or do some electronics or something with some resistor, something during our school life, or even fix the audio amplifier in our schools. Right? It used to be fun. It used to something that we learned. But nowadays, most kids that I work with have very little enthusiasm for things like this. They would rather take their phone and be chatting with each other, or looking at YouTube on some music videos or things like this. So and mostly the tech stuff happens by third party companies who come to the school to put the audio, fix the audio amplifier, or fix the speakers and things like this. So it's a sad state for me, and I think we need to have these hands-on things, and maybe the competitions is the way to go. uh, these days, students and their parents are very focused on competition, competing with each other and trying to win some certificate or medal. So why not have competitions to do technology and build circuits and things like this? And that might kickstart a new generation of people who wants to build things. So if you all have better ideas, I'm all open to kind of push those ideas forward also. Do you have any plan on renting out the new kind of technologies that you guys have found during creating Vega for foreign companies? Yeah, I think those ideas are those kind of we are flexible on those. If somebody like a big company and says, "Can you build a motor controller or some device for their particular car, that can be designed," then we are all for it. I think that's a good business model also to build OEM custom electronics and devices for the people. We do that for local companies. We do technology development and product engineering as a third-party service to other local companies. We have a team called Vega Design Studios that we provide softwares and things for big companies like Keels and Unilever and whatnot. In terms of going international, absolutely, we want to build a much more footprint on these areas and be able to export some of our product engineering ideas to other countries. So yeah, definitely. All right. So do you people have any idea about how to mass manufacture your inventions in the future? Um, I would say about 2 years ago, we probably didn't have much idea, but now I think we are pretty we build some confidence in this. Although I don't want to say we know what we're doing, because there's always places that we can learn. Um, we manufacture about 30 EV chargers now per month. That is not mass manufacturing, but getting to that number was a big challenge also. But we know the challenge to get from 30 to 3,000 per month. What do we need to do? So we are trying to get those building blocks in place. So the key that I think is that if you try to do all of it in-house, then it's very difficult. You don't have the specialized expertise, the machines and things like to do mass manufacturing. You have to outsource it. So finding the right partners to do it, for example, PCB manufacturing or soldering electronic components, whom do you talk to kind of do this locally or internationally is, I think, key. So talking to a lot of people in trying to get those services for you is the key way to go. It would be a little bit expensive, but mass manufacturing means the cost of the product will come down with the higher volumes. So you have space to play with in giving these services to other companies to build things for you. So I think that's one of the important things. Is there no possibility of building a mass market EV in Sri Lanka, maybe in collaboration with a local unit or foreign investor? So maybe you missed it, Channa, but we've been working with a Japanese company for about 3 years now. Working to build a production company for a small electric vehicle in Sri Lanka, whereas Japanese manufacturing technology will be transferred to Sri Lanka to do this, with Vega and a few other companies getting involved in making this success. So this is something that we are working on. The hope is to have about 10,000 units per year manufactured in Sri Lanka, and be able to use it for our local consumption as well as to sell to countries like Bangladesh and other South Asian countries. So absolutely there is a possibility, and what you learn from the Japanese is that how do you control the cost, how do you focus on quality and still be able to produce a vehicle at a given price range. So those are very important for us to move forward. So I think our time is up. The hour went by pretty quickly. I want to thank the Sustainable Education Foundation as well as Suresh, who've been talking to me a lot of many times in trying to make this work. I apologize for any shortcomings and things like this, but I'm really glad that people joined and had good questions. So hopefully we can do this again sometime to make things together. So let's build things together. Let's join hands and move this country forward. Our future is not in the hands of anybody else, but it's in the hand of ours. So whatever we do, it will decide where we go with this country. So I want to thank all of you all and have a great night and a good weekend.